Hello everyone, hope you're doing well, hope you're reading a good book. I am back with another video and this will be the part 2 of the book haul. If you guys haven't watched part 1 of the book haul, you can go to the description box and you'll find a link there. So make sure that you watch that video as well. And this will be the last video for this year. So wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope that you guys have completed your reading challenge for this year. So without wasting any time, let's begin our video with this book. This book is called The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. I bought this book for 100 rupees only from a second hand book market in Ahmedabad, and this book talks about the theory of evolution by Charles Darwin, and this book is in pretty good condition, and I think it's a solid deal for 100 rupees. The next book that I have with me is a non-fiction book. It's called The Exchange Artist, a tale of high-flying speculation and America's first banking collapse. It's good to read non-fiction books as well from time to time. The next book that I have with me is a whodunit murder mystery. It's called A Midsummer's Equation by Kaigo Higashino, the famous author who also wrote The Suspect of Devotion X. The next book that I have with me is my first graphic novel. It's called Persepolis. This book covers the time period when author was a small child, and uh, also covers some part when she is in her youth, and talks about the Islamic Revolution in Iran. The next book that I have with me is one of my favorite books of all time. It's called Girl with a Pearl Earring, based on the life of famous painter Vermeer, and it covers the time period when he was painting his very famous painting by the same name. It's such a beautiful book that I feel that everyone should read it, especially if you are someone who is into historical fiction or someone who loves art. The next book that I have with me is called American Dirt by Janine Cummins. It follows the story of a Mexican woman who has to uh, enter USA as an illegal immigrant with her son. The next book that I have with me is a collection of war poetries. This book is called The Oxford Book of War Poetry. I have a friend who loves poetries, so I thought of her when I saw this book and I picked it up. The next book that I have with me is another historical fiction. It is called Dara Sukhoi, The Man Who Would Be King. Dara Sukhoi was an heir apparent to the Mughal throne, but he was defeated by Aurangzeb. The next book that I have with me is a prequel to the book series A Hunger Games. It's called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins. It is a hardcover, and I also bought this from the same second-hand book market, and it's in pretty good condition. The next book that I have with me is Biography of Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. He is someone who is known for writing biographies. He has written biography of Albert Einstein and Benjamin Franklin. The next book that I have with me is a children's book. It's called Wonder by R.J. Palacio. She got the inspiration for this book when her son cried after seeing a little girl who had severe facial deformity. The next book that I have with me is Arthur and George by Julian Barnes, set at the turn of 20th century. Two totally different characters, Arthur and George, they meet, and that's the main plot of this book. George is an Indian origin guy, whereas Arthur is the famous author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle of Sherlock Holmes. The next book that I have with me is The Fountainhead. The main character is a young architect, and that's all I know about this book. The next book that I have with me is a very big book, standing over 1,000 pages. It's Duck's Newbury Port by British author Lucy Ellman. This book is written in the stream of consciousness narrative style, so that's something that I'm looking forward to. And it's a very big book. I'll need your blessings to finish this book, and you can shower your blessings on me by like liking this video and sharing it with your friends. The next book that I have with me is called The Abduction by Mark Gimenez. I have read Accused by the same author. If you are someone who loves books related to law and uh, judicial proceedings, then I highly suggest that you pick this author. The next book that I have with me, and the book that I'm gonna start my 2023 reading challenge with, is called Little Book of Huga, uh, the Danish way to live well. So I hope that this book changes my life. And the next book that I have with me is another big book. It's called 1984 by Japanese author Murakami. Uh, you may find this book in three separate parts, but the copy that I have with me is the jumbo edition of this book. And lastly, uh, three books from my favorite author Khalid Hosseini, uh, The Kite Runner, A Thousand Splendid Suns, and The Mountains Echoed. I'll be covering these three books in a separate video, so we'll not talk much about these three books. And that was it from my end, and I hope you guys liked my collection. And if you are someone who is interested in reading, do consider subscribing to the channel and leave a like, share it with your friends. That's all. Once again, very happy new year to you all.